and finds exhaustion, fatigue creeping in on him. He finds that his interests in life become less keen, and little by little, from lack of energy, all purpose collapses as far as his psychology is concerned. So we have to conserve energy. On the Western side of things, we measure achievement by energy expenditure. We put a pound of energy behind something, then we have a pound of achievement. We put 100 pounds of energy, we have 100 pounds of achievement. It's all energy. We think of the amount of stress as indicating the activity of the individual. This activity, however, may be nothing more than a kind of meaningless confusion. In the Zen thinking, energy must be conserved. The problem is to achieve the greatest amount of result with the least expenditure of energy. We know, for example, in the old days when the American Indian runners carried messages across this country, that it was necessary for them to achieve a certain pacing. They still do it in the reservations of the Southwest. An American Indian can take a kind of dog trot. He will go no faster and no slower. And on this trotting pace, he can accomplish a prodigious amount of travel. He can go for hours, apparently, without fatigue. He can outdistance those who run and hasten and hurry by just keeping up this peculiar rhythmic trot. He has learned just exactly how rapidly this trot should be geared so far as he is concerned. It differs with everyone. He knows his pace, he keeps it. And there are cases where Indians have kept this trot without really pausing at all for 12, 14, 16 hours. Had they hurried, they could not possibly have done it. Their brother in the East, the old rickshaw driver who has now disappeared, had this same prodigious power. Behind the staffs of his rickshaw, or between them more likely, he was able to go on for hours at this dog trot. I remember many years ago, when there were still rickshaws in the area, a rickshaw driver who made a 40-mile round trip without stopping, dragging a load. But he would never go beyond a certain speed. He would never hurry. He would go along with a strange rhythmic trot. He was conserving energy. Now in Zen, this idea is carried a step further. Every ounce of energy that we possess must be used. It must be used as wisely and sparingly as possible. Nature reconstructs our energy patterns to some degree, but if we exhaust them too much, nature cannot revive or replace this wasted energy as rapidly as we waste it. As a result, over a long period of time, our vital resources gradually decline. If, however, at all times in life, we try to use energy to the utmost, getting from every unit of energy all of the true usefulness that is possible, we will find that nature has rather wonderfully provided us with the fuel of life, by means of which we can accomplish most of the reasonable things that we desire. It will be obvious that work of all kinds is energy consuming. But today, work is far less a problem for Western man than at any other time in history. But as his hours shorten, it seems that his capacity shortens. The individual psychologically is more tired now after 7 days with 5 coffee breaks than he used to be when he worked 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. If he had to do the work that his grandfather did, he probably would collapse in his tracks. So what has he accomplished since the time of his grandfather? He has accomplished inability. He has accomplished the mysterious circumstance of not being able to do what his own forefathers did. Now, the answer was not merely that grandfather had better stamina. It was that grandfather was a better organized person. Now, this might not have been grandfather's fault. He may not have known very much about being a better organized anybody. But he had one advantage: simplicity. His needs were simple, his expectations were simple, the world that he lived in was rather non-competitive in comparison to today. His life was free from most of the extraordinary ambitions that affect modern man. He was also not so much of a conspirator as his descendants. He wasn't doing everything he possibly could with his emotional and mental resources to fight his way to the top, even by unfair means. This grandfather, with a simpler way of life, probably healthier food, fewer ambitions, and no great demands upon life or unreasonable luxuries, lived to a good old age under fair opportunity and conserved energy resources. We see a few of these people now. I've known a number of them along the way. I've known many persons who have reached 90 with every tooth in their heads. Some of them with hardly a filling. I had a grandmother who died at 70. She'd never had a filling in a tooth. These people just live differently. Today, by the time we are 65, we've shaken all our teeth loose with worry and fear. Our digestion is so bad that acidity has eaten up our mouths. And we are just unhappy due to pressures that our ancestors never knew. What is the best way to handle this type of thing? We can't go backwards. We don't want to. We don't want to go back to the 12-hour day. But what we do want to do is to go backward or forward, or whatever is necessary, to a condition in which, as individuals, we are sufficient to our own needs as human beings. That we can live with ourselves. That we can use our energy allotments constructively and reasonably. And will not waste the larger part of this allotment that is given to us. Tests have been made, others undoubtedly are in the making at the moment, to determine exactly how we use energy and what happens when we short-circuit our own systems. And every bit of information that has accumulated up to now straight forth tells us the facts of the matter. Actually, emotional and mental stress today work a greater hardship upon our economy as persons than the 12-hour day did upon the lives of our ancestors. Our great-grandfather, perhaps, who went out and plowed a field from morning till night with a rifle strung over his shoulder, he had a difficult life. He even had a life which might have encouraged considerable neurosis But the